Let's kick things off with our first story. Alex Pereira is sharpening his wrestling skills in Japan. Currently visiting Japan with his coach Pino Cruz, Alex Pereira isn't letting his vacation get in the way of progress. In a recent social media post, Pereira was seen putting in serious work on his wrestling, a clear testament to his champion mindset. While most would take this time to relax, Pereira remains laser-focused on improvement, showing once again why he's one of the sport's most respected athletes. In today's MMA landscape, being well-rounded is no longer optional. It's a necessity, no matter how lethal your striking may be. The ability to wrestle, control the clinch, and defend takedowns often spells the difference between victory and defeat at the highest level. Pereira clearly understands this. Rather than resting on his accomplishments, he's taking real steps to evolve his game. And he's doing it the right way. Not by talking, but by grinding behind the scenes. Wrestling has often been cited as the one potential weakness in Pereira's arsenal. Instead of ignoring the critics, he's addressing it head-on. And what better place to do it than Japan, a country with a rich tradition in martial arts and wrestling. Training while the rest of the world relaxes speaks volumes about Pereira's mentality. True champions are made in those unseen hours, away from the lights and the crowds. Titles aren't just won on fight night. They are forged through relentless dedication when no one is watching. With the competition at the top of the division growing fiercer by the month, every advantage counts. New challengers are emerging, each hungry and armed with new weapons. To remain champion in this environment requires more than talent. It demands continuous evolution. Pereira's work ethic and focus could very well keep him on top for a long time. Fans around the world, whether casual or hardcore, can't help but respect what they're seeing. If Pereira keeps this up, dethroning him won't be easy. Now, moving on to our second story. The MMA community calls out ESPN over their Jon Jones post. In a recent social media post, ESPN praised Jon Jones for holding the second-longest undisputed heavyweight title reign in UFC history, noting that his 785-day reign trails only Cain Velasquez's 896-day run from 2012 to 2015. They highlighted that Jones is one step closer to having the longest title reign in two different weight classes, and labeled the achievement as legendary. However, the MMA community wasn't having it. Many fans quickly pointed out that Jon Jones has only fought twice since 2023, making him one of the least active champions in recent memory. To them, celebrating a reign with so little actual fighting activity felt disingenuous. Criticism poured in, with many arguing that a title reign should be measured by active defenses, not just the passage of time. This backlash highlights a growing frustration among MMA fans, who are demanding more substance from both fighters and the media that covers them. In their eyes, real greatness isn't just about how long you hold a belt. It's about how often you defend it against the best. Back to our second story. The MMA community roasts ESPN over their Jon Jones post. When ESPN praised Jon Jones for having the second-longest undisputed heavyweight reign in UFC history, fans wasted no time in making their voices heard. One fan sarcastically joked, "ESPN MMA's newest admin is Dana White." Another piled on with, "This is actually a terrible flex. Jones has one title defense against the ghost of Stipe, while still ducking the interim champ." The criticisms kept rolling in. Another commenter wrote, "Well, when you fight only once every 2 years, how is this not from a burner account?" 41 more added, "One title defense in over 2 years against a retired Stipe? 2 fights in the last 4 years? Bro isn't reigning, he's nesting." The roasting continued with brutal honesty. One fan joked, "Wow, 25 months. He must have fought 5, maybe 6 times, right?" "Nope, just 2. 2 fights in over 2 years. When's his next fight? Oh wait, it's not even scheduled." It became crystal clear. Fans weren't just upset about Jones's inactivity. They were furious with how major media outlets like ESPN were trying to frame Jones's heavyweight run as dominant, when, in reality, many see it as underwhelming. One user called for change, saying, "Jon Jones needs to either fight Aspinall or retire. He's becoming a joke." Another fan dropped the famous line, "You either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain," perfectly summing up how public perception of Jones has shifted over the years. The criticism got even harsher. One fan wrote, "Celebrating being inactive for years at a time. Wow, so amazing." Another directly blasted ESPN, saying, "You realize how ridiculous of a post this is, right? Pretty easy when you don't fight." Someone else even said, "Thought this was a parody account. Had to do a double take." Finally, another user summed up the overall mood perfectly. "Dana, log off the ESPN account. Bro, you ain't fooling anyone." The overall message from the MMA community was loud and clear. Fans are tired of media narratives that hype up records without reflecting real competition. In their eyes, being a champion isn't about holding a belt on paper. It's about defending it and facing the best consistently. Now let's move on to our next story. Michael Bisping previews Kamaru Usman versus Joaquin Buckley. In a recent YouTube video, UFC Hall of Famer Michael Bisping shared his thoughts on the upcoming clash between Kamaru Usman and Joaquin Buckley. And he raised a compelling question. If Usman loses, could this be the final chapter of his legendary career? It's a fascinating matchup. Buckley is red hot right now, riding a major win streak, and his momentum has never been stronger. His most eye-opening performance to date came in a one-sided beatdown of former interim champion Colby Covington, a fight that sent shockwaves through the welterweight division. Meanwhile, Usman, once seen as an unstoppable force at 170 pounds, is trying to rediscover his footing after a couple of tough losses. Bisping pointed out that another setback here could potentially signal the end of Usman's run at the top, and maybe his career altogether. This fight isn't just about rankings. It's about legacy, pride, and possibly survival in one of the UFC's deepest divisions. Buckley is hungry and surging. Usman is a battle-tested veteran looking to prove he still belongs among the elite. Buckley's rise has been nothing short of electric. His recent dominance, combined with his natural explosiveness and relentless fighting style, has made him a legitimate force at 170 pounds. His dismantling of Colby Covington immediately put the division on notice. Buckley is no longer just an exciting prospect. He's a serious contender. If Buckley can get past Usman, it wouldn't be crazy to see him thrown straight into the title conversation. That's how big this fight is. A win over a former undisputed champion like Kamaru Usman would catapult Buckley into the elite tier of the welterweight division overnight. But make no mistake, beating Usman is no easy task, even at this stage of his career. The Nigerian nightmare still brings elite wrestling, brutal clinch work, and a championship mindset forged through years of battling the best the UFC has to offer. Buckley will have to find a way to withstand Usman's suffocating pressure, grinding style, and physical strength, which have broken many great fighters before. At the same time, Buckley's raw speed, devastating knockout power, and newfound confidence make him incredibly dangerous. Physically, Buckley looks like he was built in a lab. He's insanely fast, hits like a truck with both hands, and has the cardio to push a high pace for 3 full rounds. Finding a better pure athlete in the UFC right now wouldn't be easy. As Michael Bisping pointed out, when you fight Kamaru Usman, you better bring your absolute best. Look no further than Usman's fight against Khamzat Chimaev. Sure, he was ragdolled early, but he adjusted and fought back hard in the later rounds. Some fans and analysts even argued that fight could have easily been scored a draw. So now the big questions loom. Does Kamaru Usman still have enough left in the tank to stop a surging Joaquin Buckley? And if he doesn't, if Buckley gets his hand raised, does Usman choose to walk away from the sport? Is this the final ride for the Nigerian nightmare? Only time will tell. Now, on to our next story. Anthony Smith reacts after losing his final UFC fight. It was an emotional night for Anthony "Lionheart" Smith as he made his final walk to the UFC octagon on Saturday night. Unfortunately for Smith, his retirement fight didn't go the way he had hoped. Facing off against undefeated rising star Zhang Ming, Smith found himself overwhelmed early. Ming dominated from the opening bell, finishing Smith with heavy ground and pound at 4:03 of the very first round. It was a brutal and heartbreaking ending for Smith, who had dreamed of riding off into the sunset with a win. Adding to the drama, there was a bizarre moment immediately after the fight. A clearly frustrated Smith flipped off someone in the crowd. Cameras quickly picked up the incident, and it was later revealed that Smith's emotions were directed toward a heckler who had taunted him following the loss. Given the significance of the moment, Smith's reaction was emotional but understandable. Smith now leaves the sport on a 3-fight losing streak. Not the storybook ending he had hoped for. But despite the rough finish, Anthony Smith's career should still be remembered for what it was: a story of perseverance, heart, and resilience. From title shots to wars against some of the best in the world, Lionheart earned his place among the respected veterans of the UFC. Amid swirling rumors and online speculation, UFC President Dana White has set the record straight regarding the status of the highly anticipated Khamzat Chimaev versus Dricus du Plessis matchup. Some fans and media outlets had claimed the fight was off or had never been finalized. But according to Dana himself, that's simply not true. In his own words, "That fight's happening. The DDP versus Khamzat fight, it's happening. It's just not happening during International Fight Week. That fight's done. Just not happening now." So for fans concerned about the fight falling through, there's no need to panic. It's locked in, just scheduled for a later date than originally expected. Naturally, no UFC media session would be complete without someone bringing up the heavyweight showdown everyone wants. Jon Jones vs. Tom Aspinall. Dana addressed that topic directly as well, reiterating that while the fight won't happen in 2024, it's still very much in the plans for 2025. When asked where things currently stand, Dana didn't mince words. "Everything you hear is until we say it." He then doubled down on his earlier confidence, simply saying, "Still super confident." So while fans will need to be patient, Dana made it clear, both fights, Chimaev vs. du Plessis and Jones vs. Aspinall, are on track. And when they finally happen, they're guaranteed to shake up their divisions in a major way. Carlos Prates breaks silence after tough loss to Ian Garry. It was a high-stakes, high-emotion night for Carlos Prates, who squared off against Ian Garry in one of the most talked-about fights of the event. Despite putting up a gritty performance across 3 competitive rounds, the judges ultimately awarded Garry the unanimous decision victory. It wasn't the outcome Prates had envisioned, especially in a fight many believed could catapult him into contender status. Shortly after the bout, Prates took to social media to address the defeat and send a message to his supporters. His statement was short, but powerful. "Unfortunately, I couldn't finish the fight, and that wasn't enough. Sorry, family. I'll come back." Though brief, the message carried the raw emotion of a fighter processing a setback. Not just for himself, but for those who have stood by him throughout his journey. Losses are part of life in the UFC, particularly at the highest level, and it's how a fighter responds that truly defines their trajectory.